Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Asha Patil from SNDT Women's University, Mumbai. Let us see understanding the community through participatory rural appraisal part 2. In part 1, we have seen the rationale of PRA, definition of PRA, need for PRA and practical tips for conducting PRA. In this module, we are going to see practical application of PRA in various areas and various methods and approaches of PRA. In this connection, the learning objectives will be: the learner will explain use of PRA in various areas, illustrates principles of participatory learning and analysis, uses practical tips while conducting PRA, understands how to use PRA for empowerment of marginalized people. Practical application of PRA includes various tips. PRA is widely used in the various 5 main areas. They include natural resource management, watershed, soil and water conservation, forestry including social and community forestry, degrades forest assessment, protection, nurseries and plantation, coastal resources and fisheries, wildlife conservation, rural energy assessment, land tenure and policy, etc. The another area is agriculture, where crops, livestock and animal husbandry can be studied through participatory research methods, irrigations, integrated post management markets, etc. can also be studied. Third is people, poverty and livelihood, where participatory rural appraisal can be used. Women and gender, livelihood analysis, poverty assessment, credit, selections, income earnings, adult literacy, all these areas can be studied. The next area is health and nutrition, where PRA is widely used to study food security and nutrition assessment and monitoring of it, water and sanitation assessment, health assessment and monitoring, etc. The last is urban, where needs assessment, community participation, urban poverty and violence, etc. are studied through PRA. Principles of participatory learning and analysis are also important for getting good results from PRA. The practitioners and facilitators have to follow certain basic principles. They include: the principles evolved over a time. The reversal of learning is the first principle. This includes learning from local people, that is learning from people directly on the site and face to face as well. It also aims at gaining insight from their local physical, technical and social knowledge. Learning rapidly and progressively is also important factor. During PRA, one has to be flexible. One cannot follow a blueprint of a program, but be adaptable in a learning process. It is a process of conscious exploration. Flexible use of methods, improvisation and cross-checking are very important thing. Offsetting biases is another thing. All those involved in PRA should go to the community with an unbiased mind, like a clean slate. They should be relaxed and not rush to finish the activity. They should not listen, or they should listen and not lecture. They should ask probing questions. They should never impose any of their ideas, thoughts, values and suggestions on local people. They should seek out the participation of marginalized people, including people below poverty line, women, ethnic minorities and children, and also those people who are isolated and remote. It is very important to know their concerns and priorities. Crossing in the field is another point. It is very important to cross check the collected information in the field itself. Compare the information and gain insight. Handing over the stick, that means the facilitator must have confidence in local people. They can do it, this feeling should be there. They must believe that the local people are able to map, rank, score, diagram, analyze, plan and act. In this process, the local people generate and own the outcomes and also learn. Hence, in PRA, the facilitator should just initiate the process and then sit back and keep quiet. The next point is self-critical awareness. The facilitators should continuously and critically examine their own behavior. They should always keep in mind that this is a learning opportunity for them. This includes facing failure positively, correcting dominant behavior, being critically aware of what is seen and not seen, what is shown and not shown, what is said and not said, and other things. Sharing. It is very important that whatever information is collected through PRA should be shared with the local people. Outside facilitators by photocopying and translating and sharing with other organizations as well. There are various tips for conducting PRA. The community worker has to play the role of a facilitator in conducting PRA. She must have full faith in local people. Facilitators are often not aware of their own lack of knowledge. She should build confidence in local people that they can do this activity. The facilitator should not strive for getting it right information. Remember, local people know the things much better than you, as you are an outsider. Sometimes they do not see any rationale behind an exercise. They must be tired or short of time or are simply playful. It is possible that they may bias your views as their perception could be different. But usually, in visual representation, this risk is minimized. At initial stage itself, if people know that they have to analyze, prioritize, plan and take an action, they will strive to get it right. Those who have facilitated PRA comment that people find the process as very creative, fulfilling and often enjoyable. The process generates lots of energy and commitment. People do it as they enjoy it. In practice, it has also been observed that the PRA facilitators usually do not devote much time to it. They want to finish this activity very fast. As a result, they forget to explain their identity, their purpose, their actions and inherent limitations. They just rely on methods mechanically without taking any trouble to establish rapport, earn trust of the local people. At the end of the activity, they do not even thank people sincerely. Such behavior leaves a bad impression on people. As a community worker, one should always avoid such behavior. The whole process of PRA requires a lot of time. Local people get engaged for a long period in these activities. Naturally, people's expectations regarding future action increases. Many a times the outsiders or other agencies are unable to respond to the local needs. They do not honor their promises made to people. As a community worker, one should respect the local people and should not keep them hanging. What you and your organization can do for them should be explained to people in the initial meeting itself. By keeping in mind the above mentioned principles of behavior and attitudes, one can successfully complete PRA. This will open up a new range of experiences. PRA methods and approaches, let us see in detail. The PRA related approaches and methods continue to unfold. It is a powerful and popular method to understand the community. This process empowers the local, marginalized and vulnerable people. Groups and individuals express, share and analyze the realities of their conditions and lives. This helps them gain confidence to plan action and act on it. Most commonly used methods are discussed in this module. These methods can be grouped under two major headings, namely methods promoting participation and methods seeking actual participation of the people. Methods where participation is primarily and secondarily involved, it is necessary to have background information of a particular area or a village where the community worker is going to conduct PRA. This information gives an idea about different interests of people, their culture and their living style. It also helps us to know how they have changed over a period of time. This information can be collected by two ways, either through old records, notes, diaries, court correspondence, etc., or through newspaper articles, research centers, archaeology departments, marketplaces or market samitis, universities, government offices, survey reports, etc. Such information helps a lot, especially in the earlier stages. For example, one gets an idea about where to go, whom to contact, how to clarify doubts and contradictions or gaps in the information received. One should be careful in using the information collected by these secondary sources. He or she should check the reliability of the information collected. Second is observing directly. This can be the most effective method if used properly. It also happens that we tend to be selective in our approach and we focus on certain aspects, that is what we want that we see, and neglect other things. While living with the people in the same community, if you observe carefully their different cultural background, their programs, their way of living, their lifestyle, day-to-day activities, you learn a lot. This also helps to recognize their potential and skills and the efforts they make to solve their problems. This gives us an insight into the prevalent power structure and decision making patterns of the community. Let us see the second method, which seeks actual participation. In this, first is interview. Semi-structured interviews play a great role in PRA. Open-ended questions help us to understand the locality in a much better way. Remember, the interviews should be conducted in a very friendly, fear-free and informal environment. This can be conducted wherever people are available, that is maybe at the farm, maybe at the temple, at home or outside the panchayat office. Try to interview people from different occupations like farmers, sarpanch who is head of the panchayat, elected representatives, postmaster, school teachers or headmaster, police patil, housewives, etc. If you are interviewing sarpanch or elected representative of the gram, ask questions related to developmental activities such as the transport facilities available, marketing, health facilities, drinking water, schools, etc. Some guidelines are there for conducting an interview. First, you have to ask the name of the person and village and the community to which the person belongs. The area, tribal or rural or urban area, then total population, the source may be a census. Okay. Then ask the nature of the pada or village. Okay. Then ask occupations of the people, okay, how people are making their livelihood. Then go towards the power structure. Ask people who is the decision maker in the village. While talking to the people, get information on the major political parties acting there, resources available in that village, maybe educational, maybe health facilities or related to other medical services, cultural background, what type of entertainment facilities are available there, religious functions are conducted, and the housing pattern, what type of houses are there, then whether the drinking water facility is there, its source, sanitation, electricity and so on. So, try to find out the major things. Then problems, whether alcoholism is there or not in the village, unemployment problems, untouchability, casteism, unequal distribution of resources, all this information is very important. Whether the area comes under draft area, does the village has grazing land or not, okay. Possible solutions they have implemented for various problems or during the crisis period. Seeking this information from the experts is a very important part. The outsider person, that is the community worker, should remember that local people are the experts. They may have expertise on various topics and may guide us about medicinal plants, underground water, identification, changes in sources and types of fuel, agroecological history, changing values and customs, fodder grasses, animal diseases, kitchen gardening, etc. You need to ask people to suggest the names of the experienced and the most respected people in the community whose advice will be unanimously accepted in conflict resolutions. Through social mapping also one can find the names of the experts in the villages. Case studies and stories is a second method where you can collect information. This is a very good way of understanding the practices followed in the village. One can prepare a household history and profile as well. A detailed case history can give us a clear picture of the prevalent crisis management and conflict situations and its resolution pattern in the community. The third one is Transect Walk. This is a systematically walking through a village. It offers a profile of the village. Transect is an observatory walk through a village living area and maybe surrounding village area such as fields, hillocks, forests, grazing land, etc. Transects are used as prerequisite for mapping. It can also be used to locate areas in a village which need to be developed. This exercise can be done with the help of persons who are staying for a longer period of time in that village. They can become your leaders and guides. It not only helps to locate and pinpoint various physical aspects of the village, but also helps to understand and discuss with the people the backgrounds of these things. For example, causes of deforestation, use of common land, other indigenous practices, etc. can be studied in this way. The figure given explains what is transect walk. This is not just based on walking, but it also includes observation, listening, asking, discussing, learning about different zones, soils, land uses, vegetation, crops, livelihood stocks, local technologies, new introduced technologies and other problem related solutions. All these are the opportunities to learn. The amalgam of these techniques makes it a very useful method. Transect walk allows you to get a quick view of the characteristics of a village. It is used to help villagers to understand their socio-economic environment in a better way. It is important to let people carry out the visualization process themselves. This promotes discussions and dialogues. Let us see the second method, that is focus group discussions. If time is limited and one wants to collect more information, focus group discussions can be organized. If it is managed properly, such activity often becomes powerful and efficient. Third is do it yourself. Here the role of expert and outsiders and the role of local people is reverse. Local people become experts and teachers, and the outsiders act as novices and learners. Local people supervise and teach skills such as how to transplant, how to remove weeds, plow and level a field, then mud a hut, fetch water from the well or river, carry water on head, fetch firewood, wash clothes on the banks of river or near a well, cook meal on chulhas, etc. The next method is timelines and trend and change analysis. It refers to a chronology or a sequence of events that has taken place in a particular village or a specific area. Listing major local events with approximate dates, people's accounts of the past, how customs and practices and things close to them have changed. Changes in land use and cropping patterns, population, migration, fuel, uses, education, health and pattern and so on. Its causes and its effects can be studied through this method. The timeline exercise can be used to find out the background of the village. It can also be useful to know the evolution of specific programs, practices in the village, in the area of health, education, other social activities related to transport, water, housing pattern, economic activities, etc. The community worker can find historical events from as far as one can remember up to the present in the life of a person or in the life of a community, in the life of a village, area, etc. This history is very useful for planning the program. Such a calendar can form the base of helping us trace trends through history and study the nature of changes. Since these events are reconstructed from the memories of people, the best informants are the old people of the village. Giving dates to events can pose some problems, but can be overcome by asking questions such as, how old do you think you were when this happened? Or do you remember if the collector was British or Indian at that time? And so on. To understand the agricultural pattern, occurrences of droughts, floods, adoption of new crops and varieties, and fertilizer uses, years in which major crop failures took place, etc. This method is useful. Next method is historical profile. To understand how the social structure and culture is evolved, this method is very useful. Before starting working in a particular village, one needs to know historical perspective of that village. This can be done by collecting and studying folklores, folk tales, proverbs and poetry available in that area. By talking to the religious leaders, one can understand the cultural practices and belief system of the community. Traditional management system, farming practices tells us about the power structure existing in that particular village at that particular period. This information could be collected through interviewing elderly people, key informants of that particular area or that particular village or from that particular community. The historical profile prepared by people from Mauje Ghote village, Raigad district of Maharashtra is shown in the picture. This is based on the discussion with the senior citizens of the village, sarpanch and other villagers residing in the village since last 3 generations. This information tells us the changes that have taken place over a period of time. These changes that have taken place in terms of resource utilization, cropping pattern, livestock, population, status of women, etc. is shown in the diagram. This is perceived by the local people. 2 types of diagrams are used in PRA, that is Venn diagram and problem tree. Venn diagram is also popularly known as chapatti diagram. It is used to identify and understand the relationship of various institutions, organizations or programs and their importance in or for community. Perception of local people about these organizations gives an idea whether development has reached to downtrodden people or not. To carry out this activity, different sizes of circles of paper are used. The smaller the size of the circle, lesser its importance. In other words, this activity can be used to know how many organizations are working in a particular area or their relationship with the people. For example, cooperative banks, dairies, maternity dispensaries, sub-centers of primary health center, panchayat, agricultural cooperatives and their access to people can be studied by using this tool. The following diagram shows the Venn diagram drawn by villagers. This shows the relationship between the cause and effect phenomena. The next diagram is problem tree. This is a diagram that shows relation between the cause and effect of different phenomena. For example, the figure is about bad harvest, that is phenomena, its causes and effects. The next method is seasonal calendars. This is an extremely important and useful exercise used to determine seasonal patterns in rural areas. For example, rainfalls, farming practices, employment, disease pattern, availability of fodder, credit and debt pattern, grazing pattern, breeding season, milk yields, etc. can be studied. In seasonal calendar, an attempt is made to determine the seasonal calendar as understood and practiced by villagers. It is a visual representation of activities that take place over a year. One can have calendars of rainfall patterns over last 10 years to 15 years, gender workload including agricultural and non-agricultural labor, diet and food consumption, disease pattern over last 5 to 10 years, sources of income and expenditure and debt pattern, crop cycles, migration and its effects, etc. This tool helps in collecting information based on the activities of population throughout the year in order to get precise idea of the problems faced by them. It informs us about how their time is locally divided and helps to visualize the activities of population during different periods of the year. This helps to meticulously plan the activities during the leisure period of people when they are comparatively less busy. The figure details gives explanation. Once the community worker understands the seasonal calendar, she can plan literacy activities accordingly. Whenever people are relatively less occupied with agricultural work, she can organize literacy teaching activities. Next method is matrix ranking. A matrix is a tabular representation that helps to compare one selected feature with another. Here examples of are crop matrix, crop grown or analyzed, health matrix. Participants describes the curative methods they use for different illnesses. Wealth ranking matrix, it explains participants discuss the social status in the village. This exercise is useful when we need to compare and study the merits and demerits of a variety of items such as different types of crops, animal breeds, trees, etc. In this exercise, a visual chart is prepared where the items are put on one side and criteria for comparing these items are put on the other side. These criteria are to be listed by the villagers themselves. Let us take the example of purchase of a cow. There are variety of cows. Based on that, one can select. Once the chart is ready, ask the villagers to give score. Scoring can be done by placing seeds or stones. In the above case, people will first rank and then take their decision which variety of cow to be purchased. Next is mapping. This refers to the construction of a map of a village living area using maybe rangoli powder or a chalk on the ground or on a cement floor or on a large paper sheet. Following features can be studied through mapping. One is natural resources, then housing patterns, poverty patterns, location of the marginalized groups or community, cropping pattern, the territory of the village. It makes our observation more accurate. Through maps, we get clear picture of the village. It is possible that we may overlook certain things which emerge clearly through the maps. Here we are giving a few examples of mappings already practiced by various people. Let us see first social mapping. These maps give information about the social structure, availability of resources at a glance. One can understand the village layout, housing pattern, location of shops, mandirs, banks, schools, wells and pumps, kacha or pakka road, etc. Once the base map is ready, it is possible to provide or mark different types of information on it. This includes information related to the number of family members in each family, number of families having animals, number of families with illiterate members, their health status, land holding, economic status, etc. Through this map, one can also locate the free land available in the village. Social maps can be used to identify distribution of population according to their religion, caste, class, status, etc. This information helps in planning different programs in future. There are some useful tips while drawing a social map. Choose a common place for drawing social maps, such as open ground in front of the Gram Panchayat, that is village panchayat, or school or Anganwadi or any other open area. Try to avoid exercising this activity in front of somebody's house. Involve people from all categories: men, women, children, socially backward class people, marginalized people. One can have separate groups for men and women and compare how both the groups perceive the same village in a different manner. Make use of local resources to draw the map, such as rangoli powder, chalk, or directly drawing on the ground with the help of a stick. Once the map is ready, you can copy it on a paper or take a photograph. Note down the names of all villagers who have participated in drawing the map. This motivates them to participate in other activities. Propose vote of thanks to all the villagers at the end of the activity. Social mapping helps us to decide the location of adult education center. It also gives a fair idea about place available in the community for organizing various awareness programs. Next is resource mapping. These maps helps to understand the different natural resources available in a particular village. Through this map, one can explain the people the optimum utilization of natural resources for the development of a village. Resource mapping includes availability of forest, location of river, wells, potable drinking water, grazing land, watersheds, type of soil, variety of trees and their locations, etc. The figure shown explains these things. While drawing resource map, ask the villagers first to draw the boundaries of a village. Ask them to show locations of wells, borewells, lakes, dry land, grazing land, farms and medicinal plants. Once the map is ready, one can have discussion on how to save the natural resources. Next is daily activity profile. This exercise gives an idea about the local people's daily working schedule. It informs about the time slot when they are busy or free, the amount of time they spend on each activity, etc. It gives a clear picture of their time schedule to plan activities, ensuring better attendance of people. This figure shows the routine of a man and woman. Empowerment. PRA can help to empower the weaker section of the society, especially women. It can create collective awareness and develop confidence in people to confront others and argue their case or their side. Our major concern here should be on the people who are really empowered in the process and how do they use their empowerment. This also happens that the outsiders get empowered and exploit the people. If local elite and dominant class becomes more empowered, then the conditions of the poor and disadvantaged worse. In other words, the effectiveness of PRA depends on the type of people involved in it. Hence, the challenge is to introduce and use PRA for weaker sections and empower them. The current tools of PRA, if used properly, can serve this purpose. PRA helps the people to express and share their knowledge with others. Through diagramming, mapping, investing and observing, they can enrich their knowledge. This helps to improve their understanding, which leads to take desired action. The whole process helps people to gain skills and confidence. They realize their own hidden potential. It is an interactive process. It brings changes in power relations and behavior. Change in attitude is another important factor of PRA. The approaches and methods of PRA have helped to change the attitude of dominant groups. This can be reflected in social mapping by men and women. In the same village, when asked the men and women to draw the social map of their village, the final product usually differs in many ways. Men are surprised that they did not know the women could do it. The map prepared by women is much more vivid and detailed. Many a times it turns out to be more accurate than the one drawn by men. At many places, the PRA approaches have been used to enable men to appreciate the hard life and conditions of women. To summarize, I can say that by using PRA, one can understand the power relationships, motivation of the people, values and taboos of the community. The community worker must gather this information before starting any program or activity in the community. The community worker must understand the power centers in the community and their influence in taking decisions. Planning and implementing development programs with people's participation is considered to be one of the keys to sustainable development. If local people are involved in planning and implementation of the development policies, projects, programs, the outcome would be naturally very different. Usually, the powerful few dominate the scene and marginalize the underprivileged people. Power is usually seen as an asset in development. It is a means of getting things done. PRA gives power to all people who can decide their priorities, find resources and utilize them optimally. It results in the development of all people and not only of the selected one. It is true that PRA cannot solve all the problems, but it guides to tackle and deal with these challenges. Thank you.